Hi guys, my name is Rich and welcome to another Transformers action figure review. Today I'm going to be reviewing, for your viewing pleasure, the Transformers Dark of the Moon Voyager class Megatron. That's a lot of things to say. Anyway, here we have Megatron in the packaging here, and he's got the little try-me circle cut out so I can... Yes, I can try him. And that, of course, is the MechTech weapons that all of the different Transformers are using now, and they're advertising all over the place, MechTech weapon systems. Basically all it is that they're weapons that are very standardized so that different figures can hold the weapons. Here it is on the back of the packaging. You can see Megatron. Not exactly sure what's going on here because, well, I'll show you later. You'll be able to see. But anyway, here it is the packaging. You get to see his stats. You know, pretty standard packaging. Pretty cool looking, but, you know, overall, pretty darn standard. Okay, with the figure out of the packaging now, as you saw just a moment ago, the figure actually is in robot mode, not in vehicle form when he's in the packaging. But so when you first open him, he'll be in robot mode. Initial reactions to opening up Megatron. I'm not exactly sure what the heck this is going on here with this, like, cloak tarp thing. And in fact, I'll just pop that off so you can kind of see what it looks like on the inside. It's just very bendy plastic that's been on, you know, other action figures before. There is some detail crafted into it, so clearly it appears very worn looking. But I'll just take it off for a moment so you can actually see what the figure looks like underneath. Another initial reaction is that Megatron here seems to have a smaller head than usual. In fact, when you look at it on the camera, it darn near looks pretty darn puny, right? Not sure if that was something... I seriously doubt that in the movie Megatron's head is somehow shrunken compared to how he was in Revenge of the Fallen and the original movie. So I'm not exactly sure what they're doing with that. But besides that, and actually I kind of think that the cloak thing does look kind of cool. And actually if you want to put it in, it has the peg here. And there's a slot right up just before his shoulder on his right. And you can just peg it in there. And there you go. The one thing the cloak doesn't really seem to me to be like Megatron, frankly. Megatron's never been one for like capes and cloaks or anything like that. You know, he's a soldier and he just wants to just blow stuff up, you know? But I do have to say that out of all the Megatrons that have been in the live action movies, this one definitely feels the most like Megatron. In the first movie, he just seemed like, the first live-action movie by Michael Bay, he seemed kind of like a giant gargoyle type thing, I guess, to me, sort of. Sort of like that. And then in the second movie, he just seemed more like a monster because his legs were backwards, you know, he had the backwards knees like a bird or a dinosaur, and he had wings when he was in Voyager class mode for the action figures, and he had the one really tiny puny arm while the other arm was giant. You know, it just didn't seem to me to be Megatron. It seemed more like a big beast. This one, if we take off the cloak here, this seems much more like Megatron. Yeah, I would prefer the paint scheme to be much similar, but I gotta say it is much closer to Megatron. I guess that's because the arms are balanced finally. You know, he has two normal arms, two legs that are the same, you know, and just that. Now, the weapon here, which is removable, it is a MechTech style weapon, meaning you can just, they have ports on the figure, you can just plug in the weapon. So put that in here. It is spring-loaded, so if you hold and you just push the panel back here on the very back, it'll launch out his weapons. Now, the one thing I don't care for the MechTech weapons is that when you press it and the weapon comes out, it doesn't stay. It doesn't stay in place. I would prefer if it, like, locked in place. That's the thing I don't really care for about spring-loaded weapons, but the good thing is that this weapon actually does look pretty cool without you having to use the spring weapon mechanism to it. Some figures, you know, some of their guns don't look the best before. This one, it looks pretty cool. I mean, it's got, obviously, the main hole to be the muzzle of the main fusion blast, and the other two you could say are just smaller, or somehow their energy, whatever. I think that looks pretty cool by itself without having to be all weird. So we'll just go ahead and take that off and the cloak off over here. Now, articulation, well, actually detail this figure. I would say that the detail of him is pretty good. I definitely like the legs. The legs and the torso seem very good, and the arms just kind of seem a little... the shoulders just kind of meh. The hands I like. The hands are pretty cool. The face has a good amount of detail, except that you can tell he is obviously... I don't know if I can get it with this camera to show it, but obviously you can see that the head is messed up. Character-wise, let me zoom in here, see if I can do something to fix that. There you go. You can kind of see how, like, his left eye is smaller than the right. The right's kind of like some big disformed face. So that's kind of how he was at the end of Revenge of the Fallen, all beaten up and stuff. So that's cool. Zoom out here. Articulation of the figure. His head is on a ball joint, so if you want, you can clearly look up and down, which I always like. The head can rotate 360 degrees. Come on. There we go, 360 degrees. Shoulder articulation. His arms can rotate 360. You can get, if you reposition these little flaps here, which it's up to you if you want to, you can bring the arm up to about here. Can reach out clearly, you know, it's reaching out. There's no, you know, saying maybe it's not or whatever. It rotates just above the bicep. At the elbow, it bends. Then it also bends, well actually I don't know, maybe it bends at the bicep, because I mean look, it bends here and then it bends again. So that's actually pretty cool. You get quite a bit of articulation out of the bend-wise out of his arm. The hands sadly don't rotate. I wish that more of the live-action movie Transformers hands rotated, because actually it just goes in and out. I wish it rotated though. Waist articulation, you get a pretty good amount out of there. At the hip, his legs can, depending on how you position them, can only come up to about there, then bend the knee, and kick back can definitely go farther. And there is minor toe articulation only because of the transformation. So overall, the articulation I would say is probably up to standard with live-action movie figures. The detail looks pretty good. So that's what he looks like in robot mode. So now to do the vehicle mode, I'm going to try something new. So off to the time lapse! Alright, so a little over 6.5 minutes to transform Megatron back into his like tanker truck vehicle mode. He is a level 2 intermediate transformer, so I've got to say, this was my first time transforming him. You guys just saw it in the time lapse. That was my first time ever transforming him, and I'd say that that wasn't actually too bad. There was a couple parts I got stuck, but by looking at the instructions I was able to figure it out and go past it. It's not that difficult. I would probably say that I would not give this to like a 6-year-old, but definitely anybody, adults should be able to figure this out, because that's one thing I know. Some parents, they get the transformer for their kids, and then like the kid can't figure out how to transform it, so they always go back to their parents. I guarantee that if I were to transform him maybe 2 or 3 times, I would definitely have his transformation down to the point where I wouldn't even need the instructions anymore. Easily 2 to 3 times, if not just one more time. He's not that difficult, but he is intricate enough that if you're one of those collectors who likes the Transformers, who a lot of pieces are rotating and, you know, all kinds of different stuff is happening, I would say that he is on the lower end of that. He's not too difficult, but he's also not super, super easy either. So, very cool vehicle mode. If you want, you can take this kind of like tarp covering off. It's up to you. And something else really cool, if you want to take off part of the tanker part, you can actually swing this around. There's a port here on the top of the truck where if you wanted, as it showed in the, there we go, you can put the gun up on top of the truck if you want. And be like, pew, 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 look at me, I'm shooting lasers, pew, 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 pew. No? Okay. So you can pop that, ooh, goodness. You can pop that off of there. Something I really like about these new Transformers when it comes to the mech tech weapons is that at the top of the vehicle, you see this circle, that's where the weapon goes. But what's really cool, instead of just having this big hole in the top of the truck, it actually has a piece that slides in and out, depending on if the gun is in there. So I think that's really cool, so that it kind of has like some filler. I think that's a really cool feature by Hasbro. Anyway, overall, I would definitely give this guy, counting the attention to detail, the paint scheme is actually good. There is parts where it looks kind of dirty, which is good because he's a truck. You know, he's driving around in the military zones and stuff. The way that I definitely like this character way better than the way that the designs were in like the first and second movie, I'm going to give him, I'm going to give him a 5 out of 5. I would really like it if the hands rotated a little bit, you know, swivel to the sides, but that's just because I do stop motion, so I like my figures to have that much more possibilities for things I can do with the poses and stuff. But the vehicle mode is on the smaller side, but it definitely has happened kind of with the movies in this movie line, is that all the figures seem a little smaller in scale. They look cool when they're transforming, they're bigger, but like in vehicle mode, they're very thin, as you can see. Anyway, cool figure. Pick it up if you're interested. I would recommend it. I definitely recommend it if you don't have a Megatron figure yet. And speaking of recommendations, if you're interested in picking this up and maybe in your area they don't sell this figure, they don't have it yet, they've sold out, you know, you don't like go into the stores because people scare you. I don't know, it's a whatever. I know of a great website. It's called entertainmentearth.com. There's a link in the description. It'll take you right to this figure, so you don't have to worry about going there and searching, trying to find it. It'll take you right to this figure, and you can decide, if, you know, from there if you'd like to purchase it or not. But I just wanted to put that out there for people who live in other countries or who live in areas where getting certain action figures can be sometimes a little difficult because of the weight or because they never get them in. I know how that is sometimes. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. Megatron and I are going to go watch some of the old movies and laugh at how ugly he was. Anyway, guys, talk to you later.